All right, everyone, we are live. Um, yeah, so whipsaw day again today. Um, and options X week. This is the type of action you expect to see. A lot of up, down, and markets coming off of the lows here. And now looking like they may want to roll over just a bit here. It looked like they were going to squeeze. We made this lower low here. And we look at the daily chart. You guys know I've been talking about this trend line here. Came down and tagged it, and here we are. And we had this little double bottom, brief double bottom yesterday. Now we made that lower low, so that opens the door for more downside. If this level breaks, I really don't know what's going to happen. So, but yeah, they're holding up for now. But there's a lot of pockets of weakness here. If you look at the intraday charts of some of these names, I mean, do you guys see the chart of the transports I posted earlier? That's an absolute bloodbath there. Checking on the daily, it is into some support here at 15,000. That's a pretty ugly candle. XLF absolutely rocked. Now it's got support down here, but I mean, that's a brutal sell-off. Look at the volume there. XLE. So we're seeing these plays here that have done well in the high yield environment now coming back in because bonds are getting a bid finally. And of course, tech is rallying. And you're seeing Apple having a nice day. You see the semiconductors there having a nice day. Oh, they almost dipped negative. Check out cloud software, IGV having a really monster day as well. If you look at the 10-minute chart intraday, just ripping higher all morning. But so yeah, tech getting a bid here. Now the million-dollar question is this going to be an actual legitimate rotation into tech? Does FANG start outperforming throughout the summer, and does that carry the market into a rally, or is this just OPEX games? So that remains to be seen. We'll probably know more on Monday. Let's see. Yeah, gold. See, gold is puking, but the problem is, again, we have quad witching OPEX. So you're into the support here, and again, if we just use a simple fib retrace. Oops. You know, you're right into basically the 618. And I saw this chart of the GDX earlier on Twitter, and check this. Check out this trend line here. So that's a pretty monster trend line there on the GDX. So I mean, you got to figure that gold is had a nice rally off the lows since March. There's probably been an increase in bullish sentiment, a lot of call buying. And what's a good way to absolutely make sure that you don't have to pay out those premiums? If you're the call seller, I mean, if you have billions of dollars in capital like hedge funds do, you don't want to pay out that premium. So you smash it down into OPEX. You get all the weak hands out, and then you don't let it resume its uptrend afterward. Speaking of overcrowded trades, look at the dollar. I mean, how many people were buying puts on this thing the whole way down that absolutely got their faces melted this week? So I mean, there's you've got the options expiring. There's a lot of games that go on. That's why you see the market dump like this in 20 minutes and then right back up, and then dump again, and then it's right back up. It's all just kind of burning out the theta of those option premiums. But yeah, so it looks like the Qs might push up here. Also, in regards to that longer term trend line, I'm sure you guys have seen the Dow. We're looking at the diamond right here, the Dow ETF DIA. So that's cut through that. That cut through that yesterday, and we're getting pretty good volume today too. And it looks like right now, unless we get a hero's rally, this is confirmed below that trend line. So I generally hold the Dow with more of a grain of salt because it's price cap weighted. But still, this is a major trend line here. It's going back to the 2020 lows. So there's some serious problems out here. But if the market rotates, and we get big cap tech to lead again, I mean, it can hold up. And that's why I'm really there's like so many problems with this market, but I'm not fully convinced we're at the precipice yet. But I mean, this market's teetering. With the dollar rallying as hard as it did, like that's a major problem. The dollar had its best day yesterday since June 11th of 2020. And it's having a really good day today as well, although it is into the 50 moving average on the weekly. So it's probably going to stall out a little bit here. You also have this pivot here going back to August of last year. So there's a little bit of resistance, but this is definitely a reversal on the dollar, make no mistake. And you're seeing that money rotate into tech, yields down, dollar up. So you're seeing the possibility of the disinflation narrative to come back, which bodes well for, you know, big cap growth stocks. So, but we'll see. I mean, it's we have options expiring tomorrow. There's going to be probably they'll probably smash the VIX tomorrow, and they'll float the market higher on no volume. And then we'll see what happens next week. Typically, the last week of June is very, very bearish. And then the first week of July, or just leading into that 4th of July holiday, is ridiculously bullish. And the volume is also ridiculously light. And the month of July is generally bullish as well, although, I mean, it's very strange. There's just a lot of cracks in the armor right now. Like, the breadth is terrible. Margin debt's exploding. The air pockets are popping up everywhere. By the way, speaking of the NASDAQ, so you guys see this kind of the blue wedge here, this rising wedge? Doesn't that remind you of something a little bit? And isn't there like that whole narrative about Bitcoin being like positively correlated, but like a couple weeks ahead of the overall market? I mean, this kind of looks a little familiar, don't you think? The NASDAQ pops through that upper wedge trend line and then rolls back over. That would be just, I mean, it'd almost be too easy. It'd almost be too perfect of a scenario for it to be that obvious, but it's looking like that's possible here. If I can get the NASDAQ back up in a second. But it's typical for a rising wedge pattern to, the top side usually breaks, and then you see a reversal. There's usually like a false break the first time on the top side, and that triggers the reversal. But yeah, it's definitely looking pretty similar here, and the NASDAQ's heavily diverged on the larger time frames. So let's see. Yeah, physical silver. I talked about this in the video in the weekend. Sprott Inc. is outperformed very much so, and that's because it's not manipulated and it's actually like run by an honest person who doesn't like create fake reserves. And so it's more reflective of this the physical price, although it is getting whacked pretty hard today. Silver actually taking a hit too. Oops. Let's see, silver futures. Yeah, down into that 200, but I mean, there's good support right here. You can see this consolidation. You have this trend line hit, and then consolidation, and then the breakout. That's always going to be a good support level. Even if silver got back down to 25, I mean, I'd be a buyer there. Look at the trend line here. That's fine. It's doing what you want it to do. It's making higher lows. It's just coiling higher, and you know, like they're putting fear on the tape. They're putting fear on the tape with these giant red bars. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's an ugly candle here. I mean, look at that candle. But you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's really not that big of a deal. Wouldn't surprise me if we have maybe a thin range doji tomorrow, and then Monday we reverse and push higher. Again, like a lot of this is probably OpEx related, honestly. And it's very common. And now we're seeing markets push up here. The NASDAQ should break through that. So we'll see if it can sustain that. And then we have tomorrow too, and we'll see where they want to pin it. But Yeah, one of those things to watch for is you notice tech was obviously leading the market earlier, even when the market was selling off. And one of the things you always want to keep an eye on is the semiconductors. That'll tell you where the market's going. And that's why I tweeted out, hey, watch the semis. If they turn negative, it's going to get ugly. And sure enough, they held up, and this market looks like it wants to push higher. Amazon actually having a really nice day also. But these, like all these FANGs that like, I mean, when you look at this pattern, you're like, oh yeah, look at this is a nice consolidation. It's a good consolidation pattern from this up move, and now it's ready to break out again. And that looks all well and good until you really pull it back. And you pull it back to these larger time frames, you see how extended it still is, even after all that consolidation. I think that some of these stocks can make new highs, but I think they're going to stall out if they do, like without getting too far. They're just still too extended. I mean, when Nasdaq got Amazon got parabolic in 2018, it pulled back in, and then you had to hug the 20 MA for basically a year before you were able to move higher. And I mean, it just like Nvidia too. Same thing here. Nvidia's making new highs, but I mean, look at this. I mean, like, how long do you think this is sustainable for on a longer time frame? This is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, Jack, I just kind of got started back up doing this again recently, and I've definitely gotten a really awesome response from being on Jason's page, and gotten a lot of followers now, and its channel's growing. So I mean, it's you know, it's slow to start, but we're working on it. I'm trying to push out content and do what I can. All right, so Nasdaq making new highs on the day. Let's see. Copper pulling in a little bit too, also right into that 100 moving average. It's got some nice support here. I will be covering let's see, yeah, in the weekend video I'm going to cover nat gas a little bit. There we go. Yeah, nat gas possibly on breakout here. Nice little wedge pattern, higher lows, higher lows. Now you're making a little higher high here. So yeah, nat gas push up to 420, 424 in the next couple of months. So chart's looking good. I'll definitely be covering that in the weekend video. Best thing to sit in. Are you comfortable shorting? The problem is it's hard to be long anything because it's like everything's overvalued. Like the only sector that's really not even fairly valued feels like miners. But I think like some of the blue chip names are okay, like typers. Some of the blue chip names are all right, like Procter Gamble. Like these are, I mean, like defensive names, things you can hold in environments. You know, it's companies that aren't going to crash. They're not going to have like an extremely high delta. Even Boeing. I mean, like there's, but it's tough right now. It's tough. But I'm more of a trader, so I don't really. I'm not like a position trader, so I swing trade. I can be in and out. I can change from long to short like very quickly and very easily. But one area I do kind of like is like some of these Chinese stocks, like Alibaba. This is, I mean, it's been beaten up quite a bit, but I mean, if you look at like what the Shanghai Composite, like the Shanghai is basically like it's pretty much an infant compared to the U.S. stock market, and there's a lot of growth potential. I mean, like, who's to say that Alibaba isn't the next Amazon in 10 years? So, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, Baidu, you got, like, some of these companies just have a lot of growth potential, but again, they're also, there's a little bit more risk in there because it's, you know, tied to China, and then there's, you know, accounting issues and so on and so forth. And then there's the US trying to push the whole rule that they're going to get delisted if they don't adhere to our accounting practices. But I mean, I think they'll like some of the best of breed names will be fine. And they have like 3 years to actually adhere to those rules. So it's not like they're going to get delisted tomorrow. But I mean, if you look at the future of like where the value is in the world over the next multiple decades, it's obviously in Asia. I mean, America's in decline. And I mean, you think about the British Empire, like they owned the world in 1900 and they were completely bankrupt by the end of World War II. I mean, and it's kind of, we're just following a similar path, really. We're just printing ourselves into oblivion and running up our debt. And yeah, it's really kind of sad, but you know, what are we going to do? Toilet paper futures. You got to get like the nice butterfly call spread on them, though. SWB, is that Slumberger? What's that? Or am I thinking of let me see. Oh, Smith and Wesson. Yeah. Let's do a little long term. Let's look at the monthly here, just for fun. This had to have been the election, right? No. Yeah, Smith and Wesson. Yeah, it's going to need a lot of consolidation to push through that, but I mean, it's in an uptrend on the monthly time frame. Let's look at Ruger, RGR. I actually like this a lot better, chart-wise. Higher high, a little more consolidation. You can't even find ammo these days. My roommate bought a shotgun and he was like looking at, like trying to buy ammo online. And of course, we live in New York, so it's like you have to have it sent to a federal firearms license dealer. It's just a huge mess. Yeah, yeah, the riots definitely helped. Yeah, the Nasdaq's strong. I mean, that's when bonds are down, or when bonds are up there, and yeah, it's going to help bid those tech stocks up. So, and you know, interesting. So I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm not going to go look for it, but it was on Zero Hedge, and basically it was like something from Goldman about how market makers literally can't even hedge against the meme stocks. They don't like they can't even do it. So they're literally just buying like index call options to hedge against the gamma because there's so much gamma in the like at the GameStops and the AMC. And it's like you wonder like so I mean you guys remember I was talking about how yeah we made an all-time high but it looks like we limped across the finish line. Like this doesn't look like a breakout. Like this looks like a breakout. You know, it's an impulsive move with like, you know, a wide range candlestick, a little bit of volume there, you know, good volume there. And like, yeah, we made an all-time high a couple times last week, but it was like the most underwhelming all-time high ever. It's because when rallies happen and breakouts happen, it's because shorts are covering. Almost every rally ever occurs on short covering. Well, guess what happens when you have no shorts in the market? You can't really go, like, that's why we're kind of stuck. It's like nobody wants to pay up here, and it's like the shorts have basically already run to the hills. And it's like we're just kind of stuck. Like the market kind of wants to go higher, but it really can't because there's just no gas left. And if and when this does roll over, it's going to crash because there's not going to be short sellers to cover. So this market is just ridiculous right now. Yeah, Bill Gray's. Did you ever live up here? But I'm getting my happy ass out of this state sometime next year. I can't live with Cuomo any longer. I mean, yeah, like look at this. It's like here's all right. Here's a layup. There's nobody in the lane to block your shot, and you still can't get above. Like it's struggling just to make an all-time high here, and there's literally no one stopping it from happening, and it still can't. It's like limping to just. Oh man, this market's something else right now. Agnico getting hit a little bit here. I still like my average though. I picked it up pre-market, saw it dipping. What I get like 66.50. I think I got in. So, but it's all about the weekly chart too. It's just, as long as it holds this 100 moving average on a weekly closing basis, I'm happy with it. And I mean, if it takes out the low and I stop out, I stop out. No big deal. I mean, there's always other trades. But I can't imagine. This really feels like a shakeout to me in the gold market, so I'm not too worried about it. The same thing with silver. Like, if we look at this chart again, this is like, I mean, this is pretty ugly last two candles, but I'm just watching this upsloping trend line. Like, that's the area I want to get in now. Not worried about this little action here. Oh, Brockport, nice. Yeah, I live downtown, in like a typically awful Democrat-run city, with a mayor who gets caught with cocaine and still is the mayor somehow. All right, guys. I think I'm going to take off. Yeah, we'll see if they push it up through the close, but I mean, if they do, they do. A lot of this stuff that we're seeing here, all this whippy action, it's just burning out theta. It's typical OPEX stuff, but yeah, nice little volatility. At least we got some trading volume for once, and it wasn't a total snooze fest. But all right, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks, guys, for stopping in. I'll try to do some more of these. I wanted to do a live stream of the FOMC yesterday, but I didn't have the thing set up on my YouTube account yet, and so now that I have it, so I'll try and do them a little bit more often now. But all right, guys, thanks a lot. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.